What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. And I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Welcome this beautiful Monday to Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. Don't forget that what we need is not more medication, but more education, for the best prescription is knowledge. We have been dealing with defeating diabetes naturally, and we have been sharing our 10-point agenda, called from the book that I co-authored with my daughter, who is a medical doctor. I am a nutritionist. And our 10-point agenda is proposed as a plan to help both to reverse diabetes and to prevent diabetes. And point number 8 on that 10-point agenda is how to reverse or repair the damages that diabetes may have caused in the body. We have looked at neuropathy, which is a kind of nerve damage, how to reverse that. We've looked at how to reverse nephropathy, which is kidney damage. We have looked at how to reverse retinopathy, which is vision impairment due to damage to the retina. We didn't complete that, and I'll be coming back to that later today. We have looked at atherosclerosis, which is damage to blood vessels, the large blood vessels and the tiny blood vessels. We have looked at part and aspect of vision impairment, which has to do with cataract, glaucoma, retinopathy, or optic nerve damage. Now, so I will start off from vision impairment today. Now, if a person has cataract, that means that the lens in the eyes have become opaque. You know, it's supposed to be like glass, transparent. Light is supposed to pass through it. But due to free radical damage or oxidative damage, which is further enhanced by diabetes, the lens has become opaque. Now, surgically, the lens can be taken out and a new lens installed by ophthalmologists. Okay? I came across one particular woman who is a retired professor of ophthalmology, a specialist eye doctor, okay, who has been preparing, certain eye drops using local Nigerian herbs, okay, and she checks people's eyes, and with cataract, with, glaucoma and what have you, she administers these her eye drops, and some of the people who have patronized her have given me feedback that it's actually helping them a great deal. Okay, so apart from surgical intervention, there may also be natural remedies that can help to fix that. Now, when people have glaucoma, which is essentially too much pressure in the eyes, I have a plan to address that. Now, I don't want to share the details of that plan here today, but in case you want me to send that plan to you, that's your human right, okay? And it's gratis. I do it pro bono, for free. I don't charge, okay? I can send you my glaucoma plan, something to help reverse glaucoma, okay? And typically within 90 days, within 3 months, the pressure in the eyes can actually begin to normalize again. I have seen that happen in several people. Just dietary changes, lifestyle changes, and certain supplements, and the pressure in the eyes will begin to normalize. Now, if you don't correct glaucoma, it can lead to optic nerve damage, and that can continue or begin to affect the optic nerves and your vision. So you begin to have what they call tunnel vision. Because you see, your vision is supposed to be like a V. You're supposed to be seeing directly in front of you very clearly, and then you're supposed to see things on the side, at least faintly, not as sharp as the one directly in front of you. So your vision goes like a V. But once glaucoma begins to damage the optic nerves, you see the vision begins to close in and close in gradually, such that you can't see sideways anymore. Your peripheral vision is affected. Now you're beginning to see only in front. That's called tunnel vision. Okay, if you don't correct glaucoma, it can lead to that. And once it leads to that, ultimately it can lead to irreversible blindness. So don't joke with glaucoma. Now, diabetes is not the only condition that can lead to glaucoma. There are many other factors that can contribute to the development of glaucoma, diabetes being just one of them. So if you're diabetic, you have a higher risk of developing glaucoma than those who are non-diabetic. Okay, of course, there is a familial component. That's a hereditary component to developing glaucoma. But then, all these factors usually help to reinforce one another. As you correct one, you weaken the other. And as you correct the other, you can, at the same time, reverse the whole process and arrest the disease progression at the end of the day. So vision impairment caused by diabetes must be addressed. And there are, again, nutrients and supplements that can help. Okay, there is a particular supplement I normally recommend for vision health improvement. And that's, again, made by a company called TryVita.com. Okay, the company is in Arizona in the USA. And you can go to their website, TryVita.com, and you can find Vision Guard. Vision Guard. Very wonderful. I also recommend nerve formula, particularly if the optic nerves have been impaired. You need to also rebuild that as well. And then, of course, chromium as a trace mineral is very important. Then vitamin A is a very good fat-soluble vitamin for your vision. You should know that from your primary school or high school, elementary science, that vitamin A is very, very important for your eyes. And you get a lot of vitamin A from your vegetables and fruits, particularly any vegetable or fruit that is orange colored, just like carrot, for example. Anything that is bright colored, like yellow, red, particularly orange, they are usually high in beta-carotene and alpha-carotene. Your body will transform beta-carotene into vitamin A so that can support your eyes, okay? So all of those nutrients that support the eye, beta-carotene or vitamin A or chromium, very important. Then omega-3 oil is also very important for the eyes. These are things that you do in order to reinstate or restore. Now, in some cases, you might need the services of professionals, particularly ophthalmologists, to help you to be able to deal with the situation so that it doesn't get worse. Okay. The next problem we're going to be addressing, the kind of damage that diabetes can cause in the body, is erectile dysfunction, ED. When I talk about ED, sometimes I jokingly say executive director, ED. It actually means, in this instance, erectile dysfunction, where a man is no longer able to gain erection because diabetes has damaged that part of his body. Now, if that has happened, you need to also address it. Now, the first thing to do is to work on the diabetes and correct it. Once the cause of the ED has been sorted, you can now focus on the ED, the erectile dysfunction. There are certain herbs that can help in helping the body to bounce back down below, okay? Things like honey goat weed is a herb, Horny, not honey, Honey. I mean Horn, the horn of a goat, the horn. There you simply put Y, honey goat weed, honey goat. That's the goats that have horns, honey goat. There's a particular weed that these honey goats normally eat when they want to mate, and it kind of drives them like an aphrodisiac. It's like a tonic to stimulate them, to become sexually aggressive. That's why you see those goats, he-goats. And they start doing because they have, munched on that particular grass that serves as their own Viagra, so to speak. Now, those weeds, the weed, honey goat weed, is now available in supplement form. You can get from any good store, health store. Okay, it's a very good one. Then there is megatribulus, which is also important in helping erectile dysfunction. Then you have an amino acid called L-arginine. L-arginine also helps in improving blood circulation to the genitals, particularly in men, to help, because erection happens when blood rushes into the fibrous tissue of the male organ, and you want to improve a lot of circulation of blood into that region. So L-arginine helps in dilating blood vessels and in helping blood to be able to rush to that part of the body so that it can be firm. All right. And then, of course, you have to deal with nerve issues as well, because, you see, nerves also control erection. Just like nerves are involved in nephropathy, nerves are involved in vision, nerves are involved in virtually every part, every function of the body, because signals are sent through nerves from the brain to the target organ. And if the nerves that are transmitting the signals have been impaired, then the signals don't reach their final destination, and so there is no response. So you also need to fix the nerves when you are fixing erectile dysfunction. It's one of those things that can be addressed if that damage has already occurred. Okay? Sometimes you might also need some unique therapies from specialists. Seek the specialists out. Take advantage of the services that they render. And then another problem that happens in diabetics usually is infections. Because when there's too much glucose circulating around in the blood, then it gives rise to a lot of infections, because high glucose level in the blood suppresses immunity. It weakens your white blood cells. Once those white blood cells are weakened, then you are prone to infection, particularly yeast infection, and particularly in the genital area. So you have to also address that. When you lower the blood sugar, you boost immunity, and then you do a yeast cleanse. You take whatever supplement required to deal with, whether it's bacterial infection or viral infection or yeast infection. There are different things to deploy for the type of infection that a person has. Of course, a test has to be carried out to know whether you have candidiasis or any type of yeast, or whether it is bacterial. You need to check first. Then you know whether you're going to use bacterial dealing, that's the supplements that will deal with bacteria, or supplements that will deal with yeast, or whatever the case may be. Find out what type of infection first through a simple, urine analysis and urine culture. And that can show you whether it is yeast, or whether it is E. coli or Salmonella or any kind of infectious agent, and then the appropriate remedy, whether it is cranberry or D-mannose or olive leaf extract or caprylic acid or probiotics or whatever it is that is needed, can then be deployed. That's why I said each person needs to seek counseling one-on-one, because tests have to be carried out to pinpoint your own particular type of infection, and then the appropriate remedy can then be deployed. Now, if you choose to use pharmaceutical antibiotics to deal with bacterial infection, I don't have any problem with that. Okay, but the only thing I will say is that once you finish the course of antibiotics, you must bear in mind that the antibiotics you have taken, maybe for 7 days or 10 days or whatever the case may be, does not spare good bacteria in your system. It destroys both the bad bacteria as well as the good bacteria. And so after taking a course of antibiotics, you need to repopulate your system with good bacteria. And that is why you must take probiotics after a course of antibiotics, or antibiotics as we call it in this part of the world. Okay, when you take antibiotics and you don't take probiotics thereafter, you create dysbiosis. I hope these terms are not too technical for some of us. Yeah, let me explain it. In our system, we have friendly bacteria. That's bacteria that don't harm us. They don't cause sickness. They don't cause disease. They exist in our body and have a symbiotic relationship with us. They benefit from us. We benefit from them. They feast on the residue of food waste in our colon in particular. When you eat and you have digested the food and you have extracted the nutrients, the waste product goes down, down, down into your colon and then finally to your rectum for elimination, eventual elimination. But what you call waste product is food for this bacteria. So they colonize the place, they feast on your food waste product, and then they generate their own waste product. What is waste product to them is beneficial to us. They generate vitamin K2. They generate vitamin B12 as their own waste product. So you see, what is waste product to them is nutrient to us. What is waste product to us is nutrient to them. So there is this symbiotic relationship where we gain from them, they gain from us. Okay? Those are friendly bacteria. We call them friendly flora. They are in your system. And then we also have certain bacteria or germs that cause disease. Those are pathogenic bacteria. Now, the disease-causing ones are the ones that establish infections and cause diseases and problems and symptoms in our body. So when you take antibiotics, your target, your aim, is to kill the disease-causing bacteria, the pathogenic bacteria. But unfortunately, the antibiotic will not kill only the disease-causing ones. It will also kill the friendly ones. So once you kill the friendly ones, then you have vacancy, you have a vacuum. Now, that is not a good idea. So you need to bring back the friendly one intentionally. That's why you take probiotics, the friendly bacteria. And you can take a probiotic that also has a prebiotic. The prebiotic is the food that the probiotics feed on. So when you take probiotics, you repopulate the place. If you don't take probiotics, that means that you have created imbalance in your digestive system and in your body. You don't have the friendly bacteria that you need, and that is called dysbiosis, because then the bad bacteria will come from the environment into your body uninvited, and they will populate the whole place, and you create imbalance. That imbalance is what is called dysbiosis. So when you take an antibiotic, remember to follow with a probiotic so that you don't create dysbiosis. Does it make sense now? I believe so. I'm going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we will finish up with that. Don't go away. You can actually reverse diabetes. When you understand diabetes, you understand what it is, you understand how it happens, the risk factors, the causes, and the complications that it can give rise to. Those who already have it, to start putting measures in place to reverse it, or at the very least, to control it. My daughter is a medical doctor, and I am a nutritionist. We co-authored Defeating Diabetes Naturally. You'll find it on Amazon.com, and you can also buy hard copies from our bookshop, the Shepherd Stores Limited, on number 18 Shogunde Street, Abule Onibagbo, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome back. This is Exposé, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. I'm your regular host. Tony Akinyemi is my name. I have been discussing our 10-point agenda on how to address diabetes naturally, and we are on point number 8, repairing diabetic damages. We have looked at how to fix neuropathy, how to fix nephropathy, how to fix atherosclerosis, how to fix vision impairment, how to fix erectile dysfunction, and now I'm dealing with how to address infections. And I've talked about using natural antibacterial agents or pharmaceutical antibiotics or antifungal agents. Whichever one you choose to use, all I'm saying is that if you use pharmaceuticals don't discriminate against good or bad. They just wipe out all of them, okay? But after you have used an antibiotic, remember to now use a probiotic so that you can repopulate your system with friendly bacteria so you don't create dysbiosis. Because when there is dysbiosis, there's a problem. Now, the bulk of your immune system resides in your digestive tract. The bulk of your immune system resides in your digestive tract. And if you wipe out the intestinal flora in your digestive tract and you create dysbiosis in your digestive tract, you have actually also compromised your immune system. It has a lot of implications, and that's why it's a very delicate area and delicate balance. And once there's dysbiosis and there is an upset in your GI tract, that also affects your polyvagal system, and your vagus nerve can begin to act up and create all kinds of sensations, all kinds of symptoms, and all kinds of problems. So creating homeostasis, creating balance in your GI tract is very important, okay? Now, so after you have dealt with infections and your immunity is good, your blood sugar is normal, then you are back to shape. Now, the next one I want to talk about today, diabetic damage that will require attention to be fixed, is gangrene. I've shown you the image of gangrene before, and I hope that they can show us right now the image of a gangrenous leg. You see the black tissue, that is dead tissue in the leg. Those portions of the leg are dead. No more life there. That's called gangrene. Now, if the gangrene becomes very serious, it can lead to amputation of the toes, or sometimes even amputation of the leg, sometimes even from the knee down, okay, due to gangrene, because the tissue has become dead. No more blood circulation to the place, no more feeling there. Sometimes the leg begins to weep. No, not bleed now, it weeps. What is coming out is not blood per se, it's liquid, it's fluid, and it smells like rotten meat. And so if that leg is not quickly amputated, you see the heavy toxic waste being generated by the infection in the gangrenous leg can migrate upward and begin to affect the kidneys, affect the heart, and once it gets to that level, the person is a goner, except a miracle happens. That's why they cut off the leg. But then, when gangrene is still at a certain stage, it may still be remedied. And by the grace of God, I have seen a couple of people who were listed for amputation, and through intervention by the recommendations I made by the special grace of God, their legs were saved and they were no longer amputated. Okay, so when there is gangrene, one of the things you do is, again, you have to control the blood sugar, because when blood sugar is not controlled, gangrene may not heal. And then there are certain nutrients that help, the leg to heal better. We have things like zinc, things like vitamin C. These are very, very important in helping the leg to heal. And then high-quality protein that contains all the essential amino acids administered to that person in their smoothie regularly, because the body needs the protein to be able to boost, the repair of the leg, and particularly the blood vessels that have been varicosed or that developed atherosclerosis. Now, you can also administer copper, you can administer rutin to deal with the blood vessels, and then things like garlic and cayenne to help thin the blood, to improve microcirculation, and what have you. And there are various other therapies that can come on board. For example, I use a particular substance, sodium chloride, NaClO2, okay? Not sodium chloride, not the salt, but it has 2 atoms of oxygen added to the NaCl, sodium chloride, Te, not De, chloride, CHLORITE. I prepare a solution of that with a little bit of an activator. The activator can be hydrochloric acid or citric acid, or apple cider vinegar, or even lemon juice or lime juice, something that has a little bit of citric acid in it, okay? You use the citric acid or the hydrochloric acid to activate the sodium chloride, and then you constitute it in the solution and use it in dressing the wound. It disinfects the wound, and it does not allow it to be infected. It helps it to be able to heal once the infectious agents have been killed, and then you are nourishing the body with all the essential amino acids, proteins, and then you are giving a lot of zinc and a lot of vitamin C. These are the things that help wounds to heal. Again, it's something that I like to sit down one-on-one with individuals affected, and in some cases, when the gangrene has not advanced too far, we might be able to save the limb at the end of the day and get the wound to heal. Some people have carried the wound in their leg for 2 years. It wouldn't heal. And sometimes within 5 weeks, 6 weeks, the wounds will close up and it will heal. Okay? That can also be addressed. Now, that's very, very important. Again, it's not something you may want to try on your own. You may need some support to be able to do that. And then tip number 9 in our 10-point agenda is for you to monitor your fasting blood sugar regularly. After you have implemented all the 8 previous tips, tip number 9 is, okay, from day 1 that you start this program, you get a glucometer and check your blood sugar upon waking up in the morning, first thing in the morning. Write the date, write the time of day, and write your fasting blood sugar reading. So maybe you woke up at 6 a.m., maybe June 13, okay? You write June 13, 2022, 6 a.m., and then your blood sugar reading for that day is maybe 125. You write it down. The next day, June 14, at 6:15 a.m., your blood sugar reading is 97. You write it down. So you record it on a daily basis for 3 months, 90 days. The reason you have to do that is, number 1, to monitor and track your progress. Is this thing I am doing, is it really working? Is it helping to crash my blood sugar? If it is not working, you will know. If it is working, you will see it. It's empirical. It's not an assumption. You see it with your own koro eyes, as we say in this part of the world. That's the first reason it's good to monitor. Second reason to monitor is to help you to know when to begin to reduce the dose of your medication. If you are type 1 diabetic, for example, and your blood sugar is already lowering as a result of this plan you are following, okay, you may need to cut down on the amount of insulin that you are injecting yourself. Because if you still inject the amount you were using before, it may crash your blood sugar too low and you go into hypoglycemia. And if it is type 2 diabetes also, and you see your blood sugar crashing, that is the time for you to start reducing the dose of the diabetic medication that you are using. Metformin, glucophage, or whatever else you are using. All right. The whole essence, the first reason is to monitor progress. The second reason for daily blood sugar check is to know when to start reducing the dose of your medication. You show your readings to your physician, to your doctor, saying in the last 30 days, this has been my reading. What do I have to do? I'm taking 10 milligrams of this, and the doctor might say, okay, cut it down to 5 milligrams so that you don't force yourself into hypo. All right. That's the second reason. The third reason is a follow-up to that. So you know when actually to stop taking your medication. Because sometimes even when you reduce the dose from 10 milligrams to 5 milligrams, for example, your blood sugar still goes so low to 60-something. That's getting into hypo. So you monitor daily for 90 days, 3 months. For those reasons I have enunciated. After the 90 days, you now start monitoring once a week. Choose a particular day in a week, maybe every Saturday, for example. You just record the date, the time, and your reading. You do that weekly, once a week, for another 3 months. After that, you reduce it to monitoring once a month, maybe the first day of every month, or the last day of every month. And you do that for another 3 months. After that, you now monitor once a quarter, just to keep an eye, to make sure that things are looking up, okay? The whole idea of monitoring is to see whether this thing is working or not working, to know when to reduce the dose of your medication or when to stop it altogether, and so on and so forth. That's why it's important. Now, if you are on diabetes medication, don't stop until you have started seeing improvements in your blood sugar levels. Now, medication should be stopped or reduced based on your response. Note that insulin cannot be stopped in type 1 diabetics, okay? But the dosage, of course, the dose can be reduced. However, I have personally seen one case of a former type 1 diabetic who has been able to completely, by the power of God, of course, eliminate insulin altogether. She has not used insulin for 3 years, and she was type 1 diabetic. God healed her. So I believe in miracles. God heals, and God still can heal today. And I pray for you that you will experience the miracle of God in your life as well and get well miraculously in Jesus' name. Now, tip number 10 is the spiritual one now, prayer. Prayer works. We believe in prayer. When all is said and done, God makes the difference when we pray to Him. I believe in prayers. We pray for the sick. We lay hands on the sick. We anoint the sick with oil. God has ordained several channels in the Bible whereby people can receive their healing. The prayer of faith, by the gifts of healings and laying on of hands, by the anointing oil, by the word of knowledge. I mean, all kinds of ways, because God meets everyone at the point of their need and at the level of their faith. Okay? So, we believe in prayers. The bottom line to preventing and reversing diabetes is to do all these 10 things that we have highlighted in the 10-point agenda and do it all at once, in parallel, pari passu, simultaneously. Don't start one, stop it, and then pick number 2, and do it for a while and stop it, and then pick number 3. No, you do all 10 simultaneously. Since diabetes is not a single straight line progression disease, you need to stop every single pathway so that no aspect of the disease can reverberate and start the whole process moving downhill again. Very, very important. All right? That is our 10-point agenda on how to reverse diabetes naturally. And I encourage you to go back to all the videos in this series, because this is the final point. The next point is, if we have enough questions, we will create another episode to answer your questions. So if you haven't posted your question, this is the time to post it in the chat room right now, or to send it to contact@tsfchurch.com. Thank you again for sticking with us. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for inviting your friends and your colleagues and neighbors. Thank you for sending this video to all your contacts. And thank you for being a faithful viewer of Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, for the best prescription is knowledge. To be informed is to be transformed. To be uninformed is to be deformed. God bless you. Have a beautiful week ahead. And see you same time, same platform, next Monday, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Bye-bye. You can actually reverse diabetes. When you understand diabetes, you understand what it is, you understand how it happens, the risk factors, the causes, and the complications that it can give rise to. Those who already have it, to start putting measures in place to reverse it, or at the very least, to control it. My daughter is a medical doctor and I am a nutritionist. We co-authored Defeating Diabetes Naturally. You'll find it on Amazon.com, and you can also buy hard copies from our bookshop, the Shepherd Stores Limited, on number 18 Shogunde Street, Abuja.